mucho gusto. Me llamo Hallie. My name is Hallie Garza. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I kind of want to make this more of an interaction discussion. If you have any questions or if you know of any resources or masajid, they may have booklets or pamphlets or classes for the multicultural, convert, or Latino communities. Please feel free to share. I think I'm too long for this. Okay, so basically, my name is Hallie Garza, and I became a Muslim about 6.5 years ago. And I'm Mexican and white. I grew up with my grandmother on my father's side, so more Latina, more Mexican influence. I started becoming curious about Islam around 2002, 2004, but it was just kind of like, oh, this is an interesting idea. Nothing, I was like, I'm not turning Muslim. Yeah, we planned it bad, but God plans better. And so I started reading little by little, but nothing too serious. I mean, I was in my early 20s, so I just aged myself. I wasn't really looking to be religious. That was the last thing on my mind. I thought religious people couldn't have fun. I thought they couldn't enjoy life. I thought, that being religious meant you had to go, pretty much live like a monk lifestyle or like a preacher or something. And I was very misinformed. I started looking into Islam, and I remember one of the key points that stood out to me one day. I was going through a lot of hurdles, and we'll just spare that melodramatic story, but there was a lot of depression and major tragedies in my life, and I was trying to find a different alternative, a different way of coping. And I remember being shocked because I opened up and it was talking about Isa alayhi salam, Jesucristo, Jesus. And I was like, oh, they got Jesus too. And I went to visit a mosque in Bridgeview. It's pretty big, and there were some Latino Muslims there. And one of the Arab sisters took me, and I just remember being in awe. I was like, I'm 45 minutes away from home. I lived in a suburb, so I was nowhere near any multicultural groups at all. So it was like white people, black people, Latinos, that's it. There's no Muslims, there's no one else of any other colors or nationalities. And so it was really impressive to me, like, this is like a whole different world. It's like traveling without even leaving the state. So it showed a lot of people, and it was still foreign to me. I still didn't feel, like it was something for me as a Mexican-American person, a young Mexican-American mother and wife. And I started looking into reading more, and I read about Jesus, so that intrigued me, and I started studying more. But it became difficult for me because as Muslims, and I'm guilty of it myself, we forget that new Muslims or youth or non-Muslims don't understand the same terminology that we understand. The adult books are not always catering to a society that doesn't know the terms like Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, may peace and blessings be upon him. We use a lot of Arabic and religious terms, and sometimes we forget to translate these things, so it doesn't always work with people when you're trying to reach out to them. So I had this idea to start looking into kids' materials. So I started reading children's books, and that's how I started studying. And then this beautiful young lady here, Hazel Gomez, she came out to meet me. Someone gave her my information. And so I started networking with the Muslims and meeting more Muslims. And I was like, oh, there's people like me out here? And so I started studying more, and there's quite a few of us. I want to bet there's at least 200 in the greater Chicago area. But what I feel as a woman, as a mother, as a Muslim, as an American, is that we need to be more visible. Not just like, hey, I'm Mexican, accept me, but as a society, in our societies, we need to be more active. We need to make more of a role to talk to people, engage in social activities, do things for the communities, study. It's imperative that we study, because right now, the only people teaching others about our religion are people that don't know our religion. You have Islamic studies in colleges, and they're like, oh, Muslims can have 6 wives. I'm like, negative. That's not true. They can't have 6 wives. So we need to learn ourselves so we know how to address these issues. We need to be friendly to people. We need to smile with people, engage them, go out. I don't let this stop me. I go roller skating, I go swimming. I don't let wearing any type of veil stop me. I talk to people, I engage with people, but what I really want is for us not to become cliquish and like, oh, I'm just a Latino Muslim, but I want us to really reach out and network with other people, learn more about our religion, and do more for our community. Sorry, I'm a little nervous right now. So, have any of you guys heard of any classes in your own communities that do either bilingual or English classes for converts or Latino community members? Where do you live? Los Angeles. Mashallah, we have another sister from Los Angeles over here. That's so awesome. Anybody else?
I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and what we had was a halakha.
Mashallah. For converts in English and stuff?
Well, yeah, everything was just being translated to them, so it was specifically for the Hispanic.
Oh, mashallah, that's pretty good to know. Good. So it's growing. More awareness is growing. I know that the Muslim Community Center on Elston and Pulaski in Chicago on the north side, they have stuff for all type of Muslim community members, not just specific, but they do have convert and Latino classes from time to time. I know that Chicago Muslim Converts does classes a lot of the times through MCC. Also, Bridgeview Mosque, the Mosque Foundation, on Sundays, they have English and a Spanish halakha from 11 to 1, so you could do both. I've attended both from time to time. I know there's Libro de Signos, they translate the Quran and other materials into Spanish and distribute those amongst the community members. So the goal isn't always to shove our religion down people's face. The goal is to just share if we're asked and to be upright citizens. I went to a wedding yesterday from friends from long ago, and like what stood out to me the most is like, you look so happy, you're at peace. And it's people that want nothing to do with religion. I've never had to preach at them. I've never had to tell them, look at me, look at my life, look what I did. They just saw it on their own, and they were like, we admire that you guys stick to what you're supposed to be doing, and you do it. We don't understand it, we don't always want to do it or talk about it, but we respect this. So as Muslims, I just wanted to tell you guys that, like, keep doing what you're doing, keep striving, keep struggling, keep pushing, keep praying. People are looking, people are watching us, and they're seeing how we behave, and how we act, and how we carry ourselves. And that's really important. Does anybody have any questions? Sorry. Yes?
You had mentioned you're aware of the Latino Muslim conference that's coming up.
No, I wasn't aware of that. Do you know where it's at? Is that here in Illinois?
I think it's in New Jersey. I just heard about it yesterday from the brother who does dawah with, I forgot what his group name was, but he
Okay.
told me about it.
I'm going to be in New Jersey next weekend, inshallah, so I'll find out more about that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Yes, go ahead.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for sharing your story. We definitely
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. Just had a quick question.
Yes.
I wanted to know how your family reacted to you letting them know that you were converting to Islam.
That was gradual. I think they kind of saw the proverbial writing on the wall because I literally took like 7 years back and forth, and I would listen to lectures and I would put things on, and I would try to tell my ex-husband, look what I'm doing or whatever. It wasn't a big shock. Like I said, I had a lot of major tragedies and depressions and stuff. I think people kind of were like, leave her alone. Déjala. Like, they just kind of were like just glad that I was doing something. And I wasn't like, just crying in a corner or like ruining my life. I think a lot of people thought it was a phase. Even myself, I wasn't really too sure where I was going with it. Like, even when I converted, I didn't cover at first. I hardly prayed. I started praying little by little, one salah at a time, memorizing it like it was the timetables, like literally, like you do, 2 times 3 is 6. And I just was like, reading the words off a piece of paper until I learned how to pray, mashallah. I got some people teasing me. They would make jokes telling me I was Osama bin Laden's niece. And the best way to tackle them, like the best thing to do is talk to people on their level. If you know someone's genuinely like nervous or irritated with you, then you don't make fun of them. You try to reassure them that, you're not here to hurt them. You don't hate everyone. Your family's not Muslim. But a lot of times, like, there's people I know, and I'm like, yeah, you better shut up and leave me alone or I'm gonna get you. And they just start laughing. So, like, keeping your sense of humor, staying true to who you are. Like, I still eat my same foods. I cover more, but for general, I'm wearing a dress under this. So it's like, I try to still stick to my own cultural lifestyle as long as it doesn't infringe on my Islamic beliefs. Like, I still hang out with people, I still go say hi to them, we have dinner together, go to movies, go to the park, stuff like this. I try not to seclude myself or act like I can't talk to them no more. I think that's a big mistake that we make sometimes as Muslims, both born Muslims and converts. I think that we do that a lot when we feel like we start practicing, that we have to regress into a hole, so to speak, and we forget there's people out there and they're seeing how we act, and we're just feeding into this idea that religious people are stern and they don't have a sense of humor and they don't go anywhere and they forget about people. So it's good to, if you feel like Islam is making you a better person, instead of saying I'm better than you, I saw a point said best online, let me show you something that's better. Not I'm better than you, because we're all, we're nothing. We're all gonna die eventually. Speck of dust. We're no one special. So the best thing to do is just stay humble, try to keep learning, and you'll never stop learning with Islam. There's so much to learn and do and try to practice and repeat over and over until you finally get at a pace where you're comfortable with. So do what you can with where you're at with your Islam, and then when you know better, try to add a little more. The best advice I have to anyone who's new to Islam, trying to convert to Islam, or new to practicing, try to do one thing, even if it's really, really small, even if it's praying Dhuhr on time. Yes, we should pray all our 5 salahs, and yes, they should be on time. But if this is something new to you, stick to one goal at a time. Say, I'm going to make Dhuhr every day on time. And don't add no new stresses to your life until you get that right. And then you add Asr, and Fajr, and Maghrib, and Isha, inshallah. And little by little, like this, okay, if you smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, I'm going to cut down 2 cigarettes. And then 4, and then 6, and then 8. And it's better for you to do a small, consistent deed than it is for you to do a big deed and never return to it again. Yes?
Sister, your presentation is very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Of late, my wife and I have been watching on the websites and YouTube a lot of clips about, Latino Muslims.
Okay.
Sure. I heard in one of the recent clips that one of the challenges the Latino Muslims face in America is that translation of the Quran in Spanish.
Yes.
And the imams who could give khutbahs in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, you've talked about contacting, interacting with the society. That way, I'm sure you'll be able to have some imams. But my one suggestion is perhaps if you contact some of the embassies of the Islamic countries, they give complimentary copies of the translations of the Quran, and I'm sure they have translation of Spanish. Translation in Spanish also.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
my
Mashallah.
source. I thought I would suggest this.
Thank you, Jazakallah. They actually made leaps and bounds in this area. There is quite a few newer, really good translations of the Quran in Spanish. One by Licenciado Isa Garcia. He just came out with a translation. It's pretty authentic, more modern Spanish, easier to understand. I think when I first started looking into Islam, which was about 8 or 10 years ago, give or take, it was either a different dialect of Spanish or very old Bible type of Spanish speak, and that's also, nobody speaks thou shalt not like that. So especially in Spanish, that was a big issue. But there is a lot of, mashallah. I remember when I converted, actually it was right there at ISNA.
They give a lot of complimentary copies.
Yes, they do. I was given a whole set in Spanish, mashallah. Did you have a question? Wa alaikum assalam.
My name is Dan. So I grew up in Chicago as well. I'm not Latino, but I'm Polish, and we grew up very Catholic. And I've been Muslim for 8 years. And to be honest with you, there's some things about mass and the church life that I miss.
Right.
And so I've been going to church once in a while just to get those social aspects things. Simple things like people look like me, all the way to people speak the same language as me. all the way to, the choir, other kinds of things. I'm wondering, what kinds of things if any, have you found to be things that you might miss about the Catholic experience? That, not necessarily religious,
Right.
but that you think that the Muslim community could do a better job of implementing institutionalizing?
Well, total transparency, I was never Catholic. My parents were not religious growing up, and then we were removed by the state. We were sent to live with an aunt initially, and then I went to live in Mexico with my grandmother, so I learned Spanish, and she had turned Jehovah's Witness, so there was a whole different ballpark there, but yeah, they don't really talk to me too much. But no, I think, and this is something that we've been having very intense conversations about, Hazel and I, and a couple of people, including my husband, who's also white American. What we need more, that I would say that could be good to mimic is professional and church settings, structure. We need more organization as a whole, like all across the board. All across the board with everything, from the way we act, from the way we talk to people, from the way we treat them, from the way we show up late to things or don't show up at all, or like there's so many things, but it starts with us. Like I can't sit here and complain if I'm not doing something. So yes, I miss having people that look by me, but fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I refused to turn Muslim, and look at us, until I knew that there was a place for me in it. And I did network a lot. I met a lot of Latino Muslims, so I have that connection. And my husband himself, he's white American, so we have that same cultural understanding with each other. I do believe that some intercultural, interracial marriages can work, and I've seen them, mashallah. But I think as a whole, everyone, we all have our cultural experience, and this is where we clash a lot of times because people don't understand. We have a different set of rules, a different set of ideas of what having manners is and what networking is, and sometimes I find that area is missing, the camaraderie, the hanging out, the social events. Like you said, people that look like you, talk like you, it's very important to have that connection. Do you by any chance live in the Burbank, Bridgeview area? Okay, because there's a lot of Polish Catholic families out there. It's like split evenly, Arabs and Polish. It's like Catholic stuff outside in the yard over here, Islamic flag over here in the next yard. It's very interesting, mashallah. I'm actually going to speak with you afterwards and give you some information, inshallah. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Yes.
You raised this important point of cultural proximity.
Yes.
Now, with which group do you think the Latino culture is closer? Like, is it closer to the certain?
We have a lot of similarities culture-wise with the Desi community and the Arab community, as far as like, the spicy foods, the hanging out, the eating together, and then with the Arab community, like the way they treat their family members and guests and whatnot. Yes.
So what I thought was, what I read is that there are 4,000 words in Spanish which have an Arabic origin.
Yes.
And culturally, I think perhaps people from North Africa, Morocco particularly, probably culturally we would be very close. Perhaps if you have people from that region, maybe you can start socializing more with people outside of the Latino community.
Oh yeah, totally. We were not trying to be all-inclusive and separated from anyone. We're not trying to start any new, only this race masjids. Lord knows we have plenty of those around already. We definitely just wanted an experience for everyone to feel welcome. Like, I know I had, for example, one brother who's very big in Dawa in the community, Abu Sumaya, he's Puerto Rican, and he said that when he was learning about Islam, and he was a Latino youth, and he went to this mosque, and he was like, well, this ain't for me. It was all Arabic, and no one even bothered to say hi to him. Alhamdulillah, thankfully, he's his own person, and that didn't stop him. But not everyone has that, that hard-headedness, for lack of a better word. We don't all tough it out. Some of us need to feel welcome, as Brother said. We need to feel like there's a spot for us. You need to feel like there's something that you can relate to. Yes, ma'am.
I was talking about there's a young girl that became Muslim, in our community, and she she's married, so her husband is from Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not Muslim though. And so I told her, you know, don't divorce him, you know, because there was, he has told me a long time ago that said don't divorce him, just pray for your husband. So I said, because I'm not the one to make the decision on these divorce issues. So what can she do to bring her husband to the Islam? He's a very, very good guy. He doesn't drink, he doesn't, you know, we just want to take it day by day to help him.
Yes,
you
yes.
know. So
First, may Allah guide him, I mean, first. That's the biggest thing, because without that, if we do it for someone or just, you know, to be cool or for the weekend, then this is where the problems come, because there's going to be plenty of problems and plenty of hurdles. My advice to her is not to shove it down his throat. I mean, he's going to see the changes in her. I advise she talk to an imam. I'm not a scholar, I can't give Islamic fatwas or anything. I do recommend that she talks to him the same, you know, in the same loving manner, sweet, kind, and shows him things and things he can relate to. She can tell him that there's a masjid in Monterrey, Mexico. There's a mosque in Mexico, DF. And there's a mosque in Chiapas, Mexico also. She could tell him there's plenty of mosques in Puerto Rico, there's at least 3, and there's mosques in the Dominican Republic. So he could see that it's not just an American converting to Islam Latino thing.
Could she start getting him like those children's books on Jesus?
She could. There's actually a website called Islam para Niños, Islam for Children, and I know the author of those books, Man. Wendy, she writes the books, and she'd be willing to send out a donation package if need be.
Okay, I would like to hear.
I can give you the information after we're done also, if you'd like.
Okay, so that's it all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for your great talk. I think the first 10 minutes. I'm going to put my wife on the spot. She's the one that did the pop. I'm Daisy. She's Puerto Rican.
Mashallah.
Janelle Sharon. We've been married for 12 years. So he said, yeah, interracial, interacting marriage is a workout. So one of the best, well, the best decision I made. I'm not sure if she agrees with me on that.
Mashallah. Mashallah. May Allah protect you.
It's really inspirational, and to your point about not being made to feel welcome. I've thought about this issue a lot. I'm obviously Daisy, and every time I step into the airport, there's a special line for me. And so I can lose my privilege very easily. I just have to step into the airport these days. I also gained privilege. And I just want to share that with all my Desi friends. I hate that. And I want to put something out. I want to do something with my privilege. Desi, all of you out there, you know the jokes we make about the Mexican community. You know the jokes we make about Hispanics, about Puerto Ricans. I don't want to comment any of that. Let's admit it. Let's listen to navel gazing. We all know what I'm talking about. Cut that out. Cut that out right now. And I know my wife is a better Muslim than me. And if you're anything like her, you're a better Muslim than me. And you're an inspiration for me. So just because I was, quote unquote, born Muslim, that don't mean squat. And I just want to call that out, that some of you are teaching us how to behave. And anytime you please see that, I'm going to call it what it is, racism in our mosques, any of that exclusionary thing, this is in quote unquote a Desi mosque, an Arab mosque, I don't care. This is not what I learned from my religion. I actually had to unlearn a lot of that stuff after not only interacting with my wife, but to our extended family and to other people and going to different kinds of mosques and living abroad. It's just given me a new insight on what it really means to be a Muslim. I feel like I didn't know anything about going to quote-unquote Desi mosques and wiping biryani off of my face after every Friday. That doesn't tell me squat about what Islam is. So thanks a lot. Please call people like me out when we are racist. We need to be called out. We need you to make us better Muslims. Please don't stop. Thanks for speaking.
Thank you. Thank you. Wa alaikum assalam.
I think that the point that you made regarding the don't make a burden greater than you can carry for yourself, I think it's really, really important in terms of moving forward with your conversion. But I think this idea also that we rely on our community for support in terms of becoming Muslim, it's kind of like double-edged sword. One, because on the one hand, I think that inshallah, all of us, Muslim converts, non, we have to develop a closer relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because ultimately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who will feel your heart. Right? I just came from actually a lecture, and the Sheikh said, go away with this constant perception that if anything else occupies your heart, you won't be filled. So in terms of my own conversion, I can say that I was very fortunate that at some point in my conversation with somebody who is how I came to Islam, they said, listen, be careful not to look at the people.
Yes.
Always refer back to the Quran and the Hadith.
Very true.
And if they hadn't made this warning to me, I would have really hated being in some situations and made a bad judgment. So alhamdulillah.
May Allah protect you, Ameen.
But on the other hand, I think this idea that made me think when you spoke is in looking for the good company. And by good company, we know that we are meant to seek Muslims. And I'm going to say why. I've been close to people who have converted. And for us Latinos, there's a strong culture of rejection of Islam by all means. The Muslims were in Spain for 800 years, okay? Then Christians who had just gone through the Middle Ages came to Mexico and other countries and kind of zipped the bag on Islam, you know? I mean, there's a reason why in Spain you're still speaking Spanish after 800 years, and in Mexico, that had its own languages, after 200 years, they all disappeared.
Yep. Colonization.
Colonization, the sense of we don't want to let anything else. So traditionally, Hispanic families are very, very Catholic. And so by that I mean to say they're very scared. They're very scared of anything else because they don't know. They don't know. And I think that's a very real problem, but that's why, alhamdulillah, for me it wasn't important having a lot of people around me.
Alhamdulillah.
I think it's important to refer people to find at least one very good friend who's able to sit back and converse on the topic of Islam, on the topic of the Hadith, on the
She
topic
raises
of the
she raises a good point. At my job, we have what we call like a work buddy, someone you can go to, and I think as Muslims in general, but especially the reverts, converts to Islam, there is like, you know, this aura of, oh my God, you're a Muslim, congratulations, and then you disappear. And they don't hear nothing except haram, 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 haram. And yes, Sharia and fiqh rulings are very important in our religion, obviously, but that is not the only thing in our religion. There's so many things to do in Islam, so many baby steps to take. And it's not meant to say we should all give ourselves excuses and never grow, and never learn, and never practice. But there's more to Islam than everything is forbidden. There is more to Islam than, why do we always feel the need as humans to point out people's flaws, to point out what they're doing wrong, to judge them, instead of saying, I can't tell you, my heart breaks. I can't even get into this conversation completely. I will just say I've seen at least 4 Muslims leave Islam in the last 2 years. 4. 2 of them close to me, and 1 is already on the edge, and Allah knows best. And it's not, yes, we can sit here and blow it off and say Allah guides whom He wills and take no responsibility for it. Yes, we're all busy. Yes, we have our own struggles. Yes, we're not perfect. But this doesn't mean we should forget about people. And this is not specific only to converts and reverts. This is every Muslim. We all have our problems. We all have our struggles, our stressors, our depressions. We all have a situation, sometimes 10, that is really weighing us down. And sometimes all you need is just a, hey, assalamu alaikum, how have you been? And not just a Facebook post, like call them. Like call them and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. And if you weren't, make yourself think about them so that you're actually telling the truth, and call them. Make yourself reflect. Like, yes, we all struggle, but we all help someone out. We're a society of people. We're made to be amongst other humans, and we need to make that experience a little better, inshallah. Yes?
You have children, correct?
Yes, I do.
Did you choose to raise them Muslim? If you did that, did your ex-husband agree with you on that?
No, he didn't agree, but I don't care. That is a whole year of conversation that I don't have time to get into, and I try not to get too sidetracked. But yes, he gave me some opposition at first, but I just basically pointed out to him, look, we're Muslim. This is what we believe. This is what we practice. She is your daughter. You are telling her anti-Islamic things. You are attacking me. her. She claims Islam for herself. MashaAllah, she took her shahada at 5 years old. This game, según ella. But she learns about Islam. She practices Islam. She's only 10. She wears hijab on and off, on and off. She's only 10. But she tells him stuff about Islam. She talks to him about Islam, and he's relaxed a lot more now that he's seen that I'm consistent with it, that it's not just a phase, that I didn't convert for some man or some friend or anything like this. I truly converted. I was looking for something. I didn't even know I was looking for something initially, and then I found it, alhamdulillah. And yes, it was, he gave me, he had jokes, and then he was rude, and then he would tell her little comments when she would go and visit him. But he's actually, now that she's getting older, he likes it. He's glad that she has a comfortable, peaceful home in which she can get raised with stability. So he sees that, and he's even started telling me recently that he appreciates all that my husband and me are doing to raise his daughter. Yes?
Can I speak to children?
I'm sorry?
Can I speak to that, Holly, about children?
Yes, please do.
So you've just heard my husband speak. We have a Puerto Rican, half Pakistani, half Puerto Rican, 6-year-old daughter. My parents my whole family is very deeply religious, and to speak to the friends in the back of the college, there are things I miss, and things that I actually come back to. I think along the way I learned that when I converted 12 years ago, that divorcing your culture is in itself a problem because you were raised by wonderful people and friends and family. And so for our daughter, and bringing her in Islam, raising her in Islam, we are very careful to also not impose culture, like things that are not itself religious, and to broaden her thoughts about her confidence in religion, like why is she Muslim?
Yes.
Why is her mom wearing a scarf? Why are some of her mom's friends not wearing a scarf and hijab? And her abuelas and abuelo who are very Christian, and ask her, do you know Jesus was Christian? And my daughter will say, well, let's talk about that because I think he's Muslim, and then they'll have a discussion. But the point being, as a 6-year-old, what we're trying to really build in her are character and things that Islam, the foundations of Islam, and not political views and things of that sort. So when it comes back to it, we go to the heart of things like, why do we believe in one God? And why does Abuela believe in one God? Because we can agree upon that.
Back to the basics.
Why is it we don't, your uncle's a vegetarian, and your abuela eats, pork. Why is that the case? But also even historically, things, we take her to the museum.
Yes.
And we tell her, let's learn a little bit about history, because a lot of who you will become is from where you live. But also who you want to be comes from what we instill in you as values that are foundational to Islam, that also are represented in other religions themselves too. So we definitely take in that particular route, and the confidence and the curiosity. So.
Thank you, because you just reminded me of 3 things that I was supposed to talk about an hour ago, and I completely forgot about. That is another thing I was going to say. I think it's very important if you live in America, you're American, whether you admit it, accept it, or not. That's the reality. We live here, our children live here, you have to expect there's going to be some influence. So do we take the approach of my child's name is whatever Muslim name you gave them, and they're never going to have any problems because they're going to do everything halal, and I don't need to talk to them about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because mashallah, they're Muslim and they don't do those things. We need to understand that we do need to talk to our children. Yes, it might be uncomfortable. It might not even be normal in our culture to talk about certain things, but we have to address them. We have to address them. And another thing is the whole divorce and the culture thing. I think it's important, yes, that we keep our son, that we know what the rulings are, that we know what is halal and what is haram. But you're turning Muslim, you're trying to get closer to God. You're not trying to change your race, your ethnicity. And people see that. They notice who you are and what you're doing. I try to incorporate, as a matter of fact, I started teaching my daughter Spanish more after I became Muslim than before. Because I was like, I'm not going to teach her how to read Arabic and not teach her Spanish. I refuse to do that. So now, mashallah, she can read and write in Spanish and Arabic, alhamdulillah. We don't speak it much, but we're doing what we can, alhamdulillah. The biggest thing, incorporate the good parts from your culture. Teach them the good things from your culture, the closeness, the family, the dinners, the gatherings. Leave the bad, the bacon, the liquor, the whatever, you know, the gang party, whatever it may be. But we have to continue being what we are. We are American, we have to continue being American. If we're Latina, we have to continue being Latina. But be a better version of yourself. Don't make your life harder and everyone else miserable at the same time. Pick one thing, like I said, add to it, add to it, add to it. Little by little, inshallah, Allah will allow you to taste the sweetness of Iman. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I have a comment and also a question.
Sure, go ahead.
My comment is, I know there are several Latinas married to Muslims in Miami, Florida, because of a high percentage of South American and Central American population. So there are some courses from what I hear for newly converted Hispanic people to Islam. So that was my comment. My question is, I really admire the drastic change which you have taken going from one culture and one religion to another, especially wearing niqab, the veil.
If I wasn't wearing this, I would have fainted already out of nervousness.
So coming to the question, my question is, I'm sure you were probably there are so many different comments made about your niqab outside in the non-Islamic environment. So how do you, number one, how do you cope with it, and what are your recommendations, words of wisdom to other Muslims?
Believe it or not, I'm about to shock you. The people who have given me the most grief over my niqab have not been the non-Muslims. It has been the Muslims. From you don't have to wear that, to rude treatment, to literally I can't shop for anything without someone telling me, why are you wearing that in this country? We don't come to this country. No, you're right. I was born here. I am Native American, Irish, white, and half Mexican. I wear whatever I want. This helps me with my post-traumatic stress syndrome. It helps me with my nervousness. I mean, I'm not lying, I'm nervous up here. I wear it, initially, I was never considering the niqab. I was barely doing my hijab, literally, barely. And I put it on one day, and I realized, I felt comfortable. I was like, I could actually breathe through this. But there's some materials that are really funky, so I never could use. But it was just a different experience, and it helped me feel a little less intimidated by the outside world. I had a major, one of the events was a house fire I was in. So I fire alarms, and we're here. I live right outside Chicago. The alarms don't stop. So it's just something that, alhamdulillah, I've been able to work on over the last 10 years or so. But words of advice from Muslims, just like I said earlier, with everything, from a longer outfit to looser pants to hijab to niqab, whatever you're considering doing, first, renew your intention. Why are you doing this? Who are you doing it for? If you're only doing it so people can say, oh, look what she's wearing, there's no point. Do the little you can do with where you're at and add to it. It's with everything. Just have to do what you can with where you're at. Ask Allah to make you love what you're supposed to love and hate what you're supposed to hate, and to give you strength, and keep pushing. Yes?
Yeah, I wanted to go back to your comment about 4 people that 2 of them have left Islam and 2 are considering leaving. I'm assuming that this is because of some incidences within a community?
Some of it has to do with that. Some of it has to do with, adults. We're all adults in here, right? A lot of the times people find themselves in situations in which they've already been sexually active, either in a marriage, outside of marriage, whatever. They're adults and they're coming to Islam, and now they're told, put these clothes on, grow this beard, put this hijab on, don't date, don't talk to men, don't talk to women, don't do nothing. And so they don't know how to network. They don't have someone to look out for them. Many times these are converts, males with kids, women with kids. This becomes difficult to find a spouse. One, there's the whole fear of parading some other unknown adult in your child's life. What if this doesn't work? The other fear is a lot of people have issues marrying divorcees, let alone a woman with a kid. Forget it if she has more than two. Then they end up falling in this trap where they get weekend men. The weekend man then leads to this, then leads to that. You meet in a coffee shop, you meet in private, you meet in public, and then bam, bam, bam. Next thing you know, you feel like, why bother? Why bother? I've committed such a huge sin. And why should I be Muslim if this man who's Muslim did this with me and didn't marry me and nobody talks to me from the community? No one remembers me except the occasional Facebook. And yes, we're not Muslim for other people. It's true. We're not. It's very true. But not everyone is blessed with the same opportunities we have. Not everyone is as outgoing or social as the rest of us and talks to people without being embarrassed. Not everyone has a Muslim community that even likes each other or talks to each other or gathers. Some people live in areas where they are the only Muslim. And it's very, very difficult to remain in any situation when you are the only one like this. A lot of it has been also bad manners in the community, people talking about them, people judging them.
Has the leadership of the community contacted these people to reach out to them and let them know that this is not representative of the community? That
only in one instance, I can honestly say that has happened. Only in one instance, but by then this person had started drinking and everything already, and they wanted nothing to do with it. And I can't blame us. I can't say it's only our fault. At the end of the day, we're all responsible for our actions or inactions. But we have to do more. We have to, at the very least, just reach out and say hi to someone. Even if you don't know them, even if they don't even answer the salams. So what? You gave it, you got the blessing. Yes, it's hard. I admit it. I have an attitude problem. It's so hard for me to be a Muslim sometimes. You give people the greeting and they give you a look like you're good horns. I'm like, okay, whatever. But you just have to, you never know when you're the only ray of light in that person's depressed, dark life. You never know what impact you're having. Your words have power. They're a gift. And every time you go to speak or type something or call or text or Facebook it, just remember that your words are a gift. What kind of gift are you giving people today? And just try to remember that before saying anything. And then I've been told that I have to wrap it up. So does anyone have any last minute comments or questions? Yes?
I think to follow up on our dear sister's comment that I have a college student now. We converted when she was 3 years old. Alhamdulillah. And I think I still would like to go back to this idea for those of us who are converts, who have families and friends who are non-Muslim, that it is essential to place in the life of your child two things. Very clear directives on where we stand on certain issues, because children are lambs up to the age of 8 or 9. But when they start puberty and up, that's when there is a big turn. And we are human, and what comes easy to us tends to become easy to do. So it's so important to place those friendships. So Mina camps and all of those things, send them there so that they have other friends who are young Muslims, because the questions will be there. Lots of Latinos date. That's a standard. Lots of Latinos wear the hoochie mama clothing. Lots of Latinos, I'm sorry to say, I don't know how to explain. Lots of Latinos drink, Hopefully, inshallah, we are not doing that, so we are first of all modeling that for them. But the reality is that we become our children's friends. In the Islamic tradition, you have 3 ages of them. And when we become their friends, even though we're their friends, we might model, but they have other friends who also model other things. And they become very susceptible at the age of around 12. So it's important for them to have good excellent
Good
character
companionship.
friends within the Muslim related community, so that they can model those things.
And that's another important point. We have to keep up ourselves being socially relevant, as well as keep our children involved in different activities and things. Yes, Hazel?
To add on to that, I think as a parental aspect, as a Sunday school teacher, some of the things I heard from students,
Okay.
it's like as parents we need to hold ourselves accountable. So when I would have like a 9-year-old student say, Ms. Gomez, but my parents told me that playing video games breaks my wudu. And so it's like, that may seem like an innocent thing to say to a child, but
It's confusing.
it's very confusing.
Yeah.
And so it's, as converts, we're learning and we're teaching the children as well. But as also born Muslims or people coming back to the faith, it's critical to not give mixed signals like that for children because it's just very confusing for them as they're learning.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Adnan. I work for Amana Publication. Amana Publication published the meaning of the Quran in the Spanish language by Dr. Halak. Dr. Halak's son bought most of the copy and willing to give it free for da'wah purposes, provided the shipping cost to be paid. If anybody interested, they could contact me. I could leave my email number or telephone number, and we are willing to ship these books.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you guys. You guys have been very interactive. Thank